everybody, this is Mrs. Kennedy, and I am here to introduce you to somebody who's very special. This little guy is William Lee Kennedy, and he wanted to meet all his awesome friends at SEA. And he wanted to share a story with you guys because I miss reading stories to my kids. And it's October, which is one of my favorite story time months. So your library lady picked out a book from Will's collection. Look at all these books over here. He's got a pretty good collection, and a lot of them came from you guys and your parents and your teachers and all the people who love us. They brought books for Will because they know how important reading is. So we're going to read a book today. It's one of my favorite books to read in October, and my friend Danielle gave it to Will at my baby shower, and it's called I Need My Monster. And it was written by Amanda Knoll and illustrated by Howard McWilliam. Remember, the author writes the words and the illustrator draws the pictures. So we're going to try to do this with my one hand. Tonight, when I looked under my bed for my monster, I found this note instead. Gone fishing. Back in a week, Gabe. What was I going to do? I need a monster under my bed. How was I supposed to get sleep if my monster was gone? I tried to sleep, but it wasn't the same without Gabe. I missed his ragged breathing, his nose whistling, and the scrambling of his uncut claws. How would I ever get to sleep without Gabe's familiar scary noises and his spooky green ooze? It was no use. Gabe would be gone for a week, and I just had to have a monster. I climbed quietly out of bed so my parents wouldn't hear me. Grown-ups have some strange ideas about monsters under beds. I knocked on the floorboards, then scrambled back under my covers. I waited nervously. Would a new monster appear? What would he be like? Would his snoring and snorting be as cheerful as Gabe's? What do you think, Will? Would it be as cheerful as Gabe's? When I heard some creaking under my bed, I knew that a substitute monster had arrived.
Good evening, said a low, breathy voice. My name is Herbert, and I will be your monster for this evening.
Herbert? What kind of name is that for a monster? You don't sound scary at all. Have you ever scared a kid before?
Well, no, but I've read all the best books on the subject. Do you have
long teeth and scratchy claws? I asked.
No, but I have an overbite. And I'm a mouth breather. Listen.
Herbert's panting was kind of scary, but it wasn't enough for me. Listen, Herbert, I'm sorry. I just don't think it's going to work. But it's nothing personal. I just really need a monster with claws.
Picky, said Herbert. As you wish, I'll go.
And then there was some more creaking, and Herbert was gone. Do you see Herbert? He's an interesting looking monster. All right, let's see what comes next. Some scratching warned me that a second monster had appeared. Good evening, he said in a high, silly voice. My name is Ralph. I understand you'll need a monster with claws. If it would please you, lean over and I will hold out an arm for inspection. I crouched on the edge of the bed, hoping to see a horrible, shaggy arm with sharp, ragged nails. Instead, I was surprised to see brushed fur with smooth, shiny claws. Excuse me. I don't mean to be rude, I asked, but is that nail polish on your claws? Yes, it is, Ralph replied. I believe professional monsters will always be well groomed. I could tell this was not going to work either. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Ralph, but I need a monster with scary claws. Like Gabe's, I thought. I heard some more scratching and I knew Ralph was gone. Ralph even wears a tie. All right, let's see what his next monster looks like. A minute later, a third voice from under the bed rasped, "Check out these claws, kid." I gathered my courage and peered over the edge. The claws were impressive, jagged, dark, and razor sharp. So far, so good. I was a little nervous. "Can you stick out your tail?" I whispered. "Sure, but don't get scared." Ooh. I peeked through my fingers at the slimy tail slithering over at the foot of my bed. That's when I noticed the bow. Are you a girl monster?" "Of course I am," she snapped. "I'm Cynthia. Do you have a problem with that?" Yeah, I do," I admitted. "I definitely need a boy monster. Boy monsters are for boys and girl monsters are for girls. Everybody knows that." "Well, if you aren't the picky one," she sniffed. And then she was gone. Where's Cynthia? Looks like Mrs. Kennedy when she doesn't get her coffee. Was I being too picky? No. I knew that my monster needed to be well-clawed and menacing. The whole point of having a monster, after all, was to keep me in bed, imagining all the scary stuff that could happen if I got out. Then I heard a shuffling noise and some slobbering. The fourth monster was under my bed. "Hey, the name's Mac." One look at his claws proved that Mac was big, scruffy boy monster. I shivered. Maybe this one would work out. "Those are excellent claws, but do you have a long tail?" I leaned over to see. No, my tail is stumpy," Max slurped. "But I do have a unusually long tongue." "Why would I be afraid of a long tongue?" I asked. "Oh, I don't know," he said, trying to sound terrifying. "You never know when I might lick you." I fell back on the bed, laughing. Oh, you thought that was funny too? Me too. "Well, if you're not even going to try to work with me," Mac whined. I held in my giggles. "I really don't think you should send me away," he warned. "Kids who reject 5 monsters in one night." "I did not reject 5 monsters in one night," I interrupted. "My regular monster is fishing." "Fishing, eh? Maybe he just left because you're so picky. Fine, I'm out of here. But I wouldn't expect to see another monster tonight if I were you." How was I ever going to get to sleep without my monster? You have no problem sleeping, huh? You got a big furry monster right there. I was surprised to hear more creaking under the bed. Loud creaking with scratching. I thought no more monsters were going to appear tonight," I said. "Sorry I'm late, kid." "Woo, it was Gabe." "I thought I'd enjoy fishing, but I didn't," he explained. "Those fish scare too easily. Not a challenge at all. You, however, are challenging, my friend. You're almost too old to be afraid of monsters. You keep me on my toes." Ah, toes, a delicious snack. The bed quivered as Gabe's stomach rumbled with hunger. "Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to start the evening with an ominous puddle of drool." I peeked over the bed. Green ooze spread silently from underneath. Ew. Then the bed trembled as Gabe unfurled his spiked tail. He was daring me to guess where it might just pop up. I shivered. Woo!
So you had some substitute monsters tonight, Gabe said, sharpening his claws on my bedpost. Were you scared? Then Gabe started tapping. I could tell he wanted to know if I still needed him. No other monster can scare me like you, I giggled, diving under my covers and pulling them up tight. Through the blankets, I heard Gabe's soft, comforting snorts. Ha! I knew it. We're made for each other, he growled. When the blanket started to slip off the bed, I knew Gabe was ready to eat. Now, if you could please stick out your foot, he said. I'd like to nibble on your pinky. I yanked my blanket back up and scrunched my feet so Gabe couldn't get them. No toes tonight, but you can have this, I offered, pushing a pillow off the bed. I didn't even hear it hit the floor. Gabe was back. The ooze was perfect, and everything was back to normal. I shivered again. I'd be asleep in no time. The end. So, that book was about talking monsters. Do we think it was fiction or nonfiction? For my littles, remember, fiction means it's fake, it's make-believe, and nonfiction means it's not fake. It has facts. A book about monsters that talk. I'm guessing that it's fiction. That's right. If you said fiction, you're awesome and right. If you said nonfiction, you're still awesome, but it's fiction. So this is I Need My Monster. It's one of my favorite books to read in October, and if you'd like to hear it again, you can always play this again on the Library Lady at SCA channel, or you can go over to Storyline Online and look at a whole selection of books read by actors and actresses, and it is on there, read by Rita Moreno. So very, very interesting, and it kind of has some different things, and you can see the pictures a little bit better. So I will see you later. Will see you later. Always keep reading.